Controversial take. I think women in general are fairly lazy. And what I mean by that is like women don't really like to go into laborious jobs that are taxing. They prefer to work an office job that's nice and air conditioned that pays them $50K a year versus being a construction worker or a power lineman making $100,000 to $150,000 a year.
Pardon me,
shaking
but
your head.
may I say something?
Yeah, go
You've
ahead.
said in your prior podcast that women tend to be, or no, we are biologically much more weak.
Yeah.
Well, you really think we're gonna like do all these really difficult jobs? You know, we're gonna do something that fits what we can do physically, emotionally.
Of course. That's why women are lazier when it comes to working more laborious jobs.
It's not lazy though. It's not. It's something you probably just can't achieve. You know, it also depends on the woman, right? If you're a bodybuilder, to an extent, you could. Well, not a bodybuilder.
That's the look that he has on his face. He's just realized he made a mistake.
Right. So you're arrogant again. Won't be able to bring it back.
And
no, it's a stupid thing to say. And she's absolutely correct in highlighting the absurdity of what he's saying. And to root it, again, there's not a word I like to throw around, as you know. But if I see misogyny, I'm going to call it out. The same if I see misandry, I call that out.
That's right.
This is a silly comment, what he said. To say that women, this is the same guy that regularly says to women, a teenage boy would beat them up, which I kind of would agree with. A lot of teenage boys in a physical situation are probably stronger than fully grown women.
They would. Right? Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
So but at the same time, if you're acknowledging that, the reason why they could best a woman physically is because they're physically stronger. Women are physically weaker. That's what you're saying. Therefore, if you're acknowledging the fact that they're physically weaker, and then you're putting forward jobs that require an element of physical strength to achieve that job to a good standard, you can't then accuse women of being lazy for not pursuing those types of jobs. Because you acknowledge that they're weak, they're physically weaker and they can't do it. What does that have to do with laziness? By that same logic, men who would shy away from that type of work because they don't like the physical aspect of it, they're lazy too then? He should be calling out more men for being lazy, for not doing those type of jobs than women.
But what I'm interested in this reaction, bro, I want to see whether he's going to show some accountability. I want to see whether he's going to say, you know what, you are absolutely right. I made a logical fallacy there. I shouldn't have said that. Women are weaker than men. Therefore, it's stupid for me to call them lazy because they can't do the very same things as men can do due to being physically incapable. So it's stupid of me to call them lazy. What I want to see is some accountability on Myron's part. When we continue the reaction, I want to see if Myron is going to say to himself, you know what? I was wrong. You're right. Because then that will tell me what kind of a man that is. None of us are perfect. None of us are always right. We all make mistakes. What I want to see from Myron is, okay, I made a mistake. I'm not going to try and justify it. I'm going to admit that I'm wrong. This is what I want to see. This is what I'm interested in, because the point that he made, you explained it perfectly. The point that he made was absolutely silly, stupid. He's done it many a times. He's done it many a times. He likes to call women lazy. It's not that they're lazy. It's just that they can't do what men can do because they're physically incapable. That's all it is.
And they don't. Not just. It's not just about physically capable. Psychologically, a lot of women don't want to be in a harsh environment, doing very physical work. And it's not something that you can blame. If you see, this is what makes me laugh. Again, on the one hand, he wants demure, feminine women that are quiet and polite and, that kind of virgin-like.
Yeah.
Just picture that woman in your mind.
My kind of
He
woman.
was so if a woman like that with those characteristics says, "I don't want to be drilling for oil underneath the sea or laying massive pipes in the dirt somewhere," they're lazy.
Bro, when you put it like that.
It's just completely stupid. He wouldn't want a woman like that. He wouldn't want a woman like that. That's the irony of it all.
Look at his face here. Look at his face here. This face says, I know I just made a mistake. I know I'm wrong. Damn, she caught me. That's what he's saying here. That's what this facial expression is all about.
Recently at the gym, you could be a construction worker. No, you can't
They absolutely could get the job, and they'd have a higher likelihood of getting the job too. It's just that they choose not to.
I mean,
so therefore they're lazy.
Okay, but like that doesn't, people don't have to have a certain job to call them lazy. Like, how many men do you see as hairstylists? How many men do you see as nurses? Does that make them lazy in that regard?
Well, they work harder jobs physically.
Who says?
Men do.
Who says?
It's just a fact. If you look at any type of infrastructure job where things are being built, it's dominated by men and not women.
Yeah, but like I said, the point is like sometimes because of our biological status, we cannot complete these activities that men do with much more ease. So why are we going to break our butt?
They still can't do it.
We can, but there's a lot of women that do it, but the majority stick to what they can do.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Is that women in general tend to be lazier than men when it comes to working laborious jobs.
That's not the word you should use for it.
Just being like wrong and strong. And also she made a good point about nurses. She made a good point about nurses. She made a good point about nursing. I don't know if you've ever spoken to a nurse. Nurses have usually 13-hour shifts.
Yeah.
With half an hour breaks, 15-minute breaks sometimes, right? This is a very demanding job, right? It's no joke. They're on their feet running from patient to patient, having to do things that we wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Seeing things that we wouldn't do. Witnessing deaths, children dying, children with cancer, children, like the worst thing that would traumatize us. Some of these nurses see that day to day. As well as the physical aspect of getting up early, doing a 13-hour shift, and then they got to go, but sometimes go back, doing it overnight. It's just stupid. See, this is what I'm saying. This is why I say there's an element of misogyny here, and ignorance too. So by that logic, if men didn't want to, I don't want to do that type of work. Does that make me lazy now? I don't want to do 13-hour shifts with 15-minute breaks. Does that make me lazy?
But no, it doesn't. It doesn't. But the point is what I'm more concerned with is his arrogance. He knows he's wrong. I'm looking at him and he knows he's wrong.
And he doubled down on it by saying the word again.
Exactly, they doubled down.
Which is interesting because he's doing the same stuff with women, what he says women do. When they use that triggering type of, they're trying to get you upset by saying things they know you don't like.
Yeah.
He's doing the same stuff.
But he's sticking to his point, knowing that he's wrong. It's a fact that men and women are different. Biologically, psychologically, we are different. So logically, it would follow, since we are different, that we would adopt different roles. We would have different jobs. We would have different roles in society. I'm more likely, as a man, I'm more likely to do certain jobs, and she's more likely to do certain jobs. That doesn't make a woman more lazy because I'm biologically built to do a different job from her. It's not to say that she can't do it, but because I'm physically stronger, I'm more capable of doing those jobs. But
more inclined to do those jobs.
So what I'm interested in is Myron's character here. He knows he's wrong. She has just literally came up with the perfect. I'm not interested. Look, we all get things wrong. You know, we all get things wrong. That's not my issue here. My issue is arrogance. Is he going to admit that he's wrong? Is he going to show?
Well,
you see what I'm saying? Like
he can't because of the platform that they've built. As we've said this a few times. The platform is built on having women who are intellectually and morally lower than they are, and exposing and humiliating them. That is what the platform is built on.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to say that there's not some truth in to some of the stuff he has said in the past, and that comes out on the show by him and other guests. There's some truth that comes out. But the premise of having all those women on is not to learn from them. He's not trying to engage in a debate with them where he's learning and it's a give and take. He wants to expose what he would call the modern women's mind. So if that's your premise, to expose the modern women's mind and attitude and behavior, then you cannot be seen to be learning anything from them, or God forbid losing any type of debate with them, because that goes against the whole platform.
Yeah.
So even when he's confronted with that situation where she was absolutely right in what she's saying, and he knows it, he cannot be seen to be, learning or taking some type of ownership of being, being corrected, basically.
And
he can't let it happen.
And this is my only issue. This is my only issue with this with this reaction. This is what I was really trying to expose, because when no one can deny that what she's saying is absolutely true. No one can deny that. I mean, unless you're not living on planet Earth, which her point was absolutely true. Yeah. My issue, the only interest that I've got when it comes to this reaction is to see whether Myron would, stop being arrogant and say to himself, you know what, you made a good point. I was actually wrong on that one. You know what, you're right. You're right about that.
Let's use a different word. Let's use a different word. Let's say that. Let me use a different word.
Yeah, let me use a different word. Yeah.
He doubled down on it.
Some humility. I don't see that from Myron. I really don't. So let's just play the a little bit more, and then we'll comment on it a little bit more, and then that's it. That's going to be the reaction, guys.
Unavailable, less capable to an extent. We're all capable of it, but you're going to get a job that suits you, right? So I don't understand your point. Calling it lazy to me is a little out there.
It is lazy because they have the capacity to make more money, but they choose not to, and they'll take a pay cut because they don't want to work harder physically. Even though they're capable of doing so, might be a little bit harder. They can do it though, but they choose not to.
You want us to say inferior?
Yeah,
what about you? You disagree with my point. Why?
Can you restate the question for me again?
It wasn't really a question. I just made a statement and you were just like shaking your head. I was saying that women in general
are lazier,
tend to be lazier when it comes to working laborious jobs like construction or any type of infrastructure type job. That is,
That, in a sense, that is true. Women are lazier with physical jobs.
Yes.
And a lot of things along those lines because it's a lot more strenuous activity that they don't really want to do at the end of the day.
So what do you disagree with? That you're shaking your head saying I was wrong.
I feel like women will do like the harder. Some women have the capacity to try and do those jobs. And I do know that because of my
personal majority.
Experience. Yeah, majority.
I didn't say nothing like all, but I said a majority of women are not going to do those jobs.
That is true.
Even just in our own example here, all of you opted for the lower paying job that is less physically strenuous over the higher paying, more physically strenuous job.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was damn near it was over 3 times as much money earned, all of you opted for the lower income job. But if I asked that question to a bunch of men, all of them would have probably said the sewer job.
Well, I'll be in it.
But this is interesting because you said a few times that you see red pill, some of the red pill content as male feminism.
It is male feminism.
And if you look at the argument that's put forward, that who is more likely to say that women if you look at the population of women, take a subsection of women, and you put forward that same argument. Women are lazy for not doing the jobs that men do. More than likely, a feminist or someone on maybe on the LGBT spectrum would agree with that. Because remember, if a feminist believes that men and women are like this,
Equal, yeah.
so she has to agree with the nonsense that women are lazy for not doing jobs that are more physically demanding.
It's a
Because she
feminist
doesn't agree with.
It's a
Right,
feminist.
it would go against the narrative that women are physically weaker, and they don't want to push that narrative. So I'm not surprised that someone would agree with the nonsense that women are lazy for not doing physically more demanding jobs, because their whole premise is we're equal. There's no difference between men and women. We're the same. We all can. So I'm not surprised that someone would agree with it. Doesn't make it right though, because logically the statement doesn't make sense. If science proves and biology proves that women have denser bone, less dense bone, and more likely they cannot bear weight, the same amount of weight than the average men, of the same weight, by the way, the same weight. They can't bear the same weight, the same physical activity, even if it's the same weight. Okay? This has been proved by science, and biology proves it. So physically, percentage-wise, women are weaker than men. This is a fact. Therefore, if you have work jobs that demand a high level of physical exertion and strength, then of course, women are not going to be inclined to do that type of work. I don't care what position you have, this is the fact. And then to then say that they're lazy for not wanting to do that, you're going against biology and science by making that statement.
He's making a feminist argument. He's actually arguing for feminism. That's
well,
what
a feminist may have agreed. That may have been a feminist that was agreeing with him after.
A feminist, like you said, I usually say the red pill is feminism for men, and it's funny that he's making a feminist point. He's and there's also an element of misogyny in there, because he's not taking into account the biology. He's not taking into account the biological reality or the biological differences between men and women. He's not taking that into account at all. And that's exactly what feminism does. Feminism does not take into account biological reality, biological fact. They don't take into account that's why there's a problem with the term equality. This idea of equality between men and women is absolutely untrue. Men and women are different. And we know that they're different because we have biology to prove that. So he's actually making an argument for feminism. That's what he's doing. It's a feminist take that he's adopting right now to make his point. And there's a level of misogyny there as well, because what you're doing is you are demonizing.
Well, you're mocking women for something they have absolutely no control over. They're not in control over being physically weaker. And you're mocking them.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point.
Yeah, you're mocking them for you're mocking women for something they have no control over.
They're born weaker. That doesn't make them lazy. Imagine saying to someone, imagine me telling a baby, you are lazy.
Yeah.
I've got a 6-month-old now. Imagine me telling my son, stop being lazy. Why don't you speak? You're being lazy. Why don't you speak?
Change your own nappy. Don't be lazy.
Yeah, change your own nappy. Stop being lazy. It's a stupid argument, an illogical argument, doesn't make any sense at all, and he's arguing for feminism. He is arguing for feminism. Everything that feminism says goes against science. It goes against biology. It goes against reality. That's the problem with feminism.
But again, this goes again because the whole red pill thing is about what they say is about, gender roles, and society is messed up because there is no gender roles and there's no traditional male-female perspective anymore, and men have become weaker, women will become more masculine. This is their premise. This is their argument. But at the same time, they're mocking the fact that women are not in that role. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you want women to be feminine and demure and all these very ultra feminist traits, virgin, like virgins and all this kind of stuff. Stay at home wives. Is what they they don't believe in marriage anymore, so they don't know what they want. But that was my understanding, that they want some type of gender roles to be back into society. If you want gender roles to be back into society, then you wouldn't have women doing construction work anyway.
Yeah, but gender roles only work
By their own logic. You wouldn't have it.
No, red pill is actually slavery for women. That's what red pill actually is. That's what ends up being, because you only get gender roles in a marriage. That's where you get the gender roles from. You're only able because you're creating a family, and we can see that ever since marriages have declined, the birth rate has also declined. So you only create nuclear families within marriage, and this is where you're supposed to witness the gender roles taking place. Since the red pill goes against marriage, what that turns the woman into, it turns the woman into a sexual slave. She's there. Remember, Myron says women are absolutely useless. Women are pretty much useless. And this, of course, they are not, because a woman is different from a man, so she has a different role to play than a man does. All right, but he's talking about in terms of in terms of working and making money and so on and so forth. A man doesn't need a woman to make money. So what becomes from a woman? What becomes of a woman? Remember what the red pill says, bro. Yeah. If you get married, you lose half of your stuff. Okay. If you get married, you lost, because you lose half of your stuff. If you get a child, if you give her a child, you can also lose the kids. So the whole red pill philosophy is against marriage and is against child creation or family creation. That's the point of the red pill. So what does that do to a woman? That turns the woman into a slave, into a sexual slave. She's there simply for sexual gratification. That's all. That's literally it.
And also this whole idea that he puts like hierarchies on jobs. Like, because a woman's not doing an office job, somehow that, to me, that's the meaning that's lower than the construction job. Let me tell you something. Those workers, those construction workers, who processes their wages? When they have an issue in their employment, they need to take up sickness and stuff like that. It's the people in the office that will payroll them and deal with their insurance and deal with the paperwork.
That's true.
You don't demean that. That's not a lower level job. You need both to bring a successful product out. So this idea that because a man's doing a construction job and a woman is doing an office job, because she's lazy and she's going for the easier option, let there be no one in the office, and let those guys. What's going to happen with those guys that are working? How does that translate to them getting paid?
You'd have to get men to do those. But
yeah, right, and you gotta have some intelligence also to be doing that, to do like a book, accounts, HR work that involves intelligence.
Of course, involves intelligence. Yes, exactly. And if a woman can do it, why not?
I might want to give you the impression they're just sitting down on their asses all day, looking at a laptop screen, and that's what makes them lazy. This is as I said, the guy. I don't know what world he's living in. I don't know what this world he seems to have constructed is completely nonsense. It's nonsense. It's not based on reality or anything. It's just based on his misogynistic views and his arrogance. That's it.
Yeah, especially in this video, it's very much to do with arrogance. He should have admitted that he made a mistake. He made a logical fallacy, and he should have rectified himself. He should have apologized and said, you know what, you're absolutely right, but he didn't do that. But yeah, guys, listen, bro, we're gonna end it here because me and my bro, we can talk forever about these. Yeah. We can go on forever. So hope you guys enjoy the reaction. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and yep. I'll see you guys on the next reaction. Peace. Take care.